Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear students, in the last period we have finished chapter number 1. Now we will see the second chapter, The Adventures of Toto. Take your moments textbook along with you. Write down all the words and their meaning, and even if you cannot complete before completion of chapter, listen to first, write down all the meaning to listen to my video, or if you want to listen early, first listen then write down, but at any cost write down all words, their meaning. Whenever schools are open, I am going to check personally whether you have written it or not. Be careful, be punctual about the words, vocabulary, their meaning. Now I am starting the chapter on page 7, Adventure of Toto. As you know, the title suggests Toto is a name of a pet. What do you mean by pet? You might have kept pet as a cat, dog, parrot, sparrow, or nowadays many people keep tiger. That is, we can say it is not proper, but many people do that. So here Toto is a monkey pet, and how author he has come to his Ruskin Bond, he who has major part of his life in India and who loves nature, who loves animal very passionately. So we will see page number 7, chapter paragraph number 1. Grandfather bought Toto from a Tonga driver for the sum of 5 rupees. The Tonga driver used to keep the little red monkeys tied to a feeding trough, and the monkey looked so out of place there that grandfather decided he would add the little fellow to his private zoo. As you know, he is a very kind person, author Ruskin Bond. He is a very good observer. Horse cart, that is, we say in Hindi tanga in the previous time. Even today we have this horse cart in many villages of India, like Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, mountain area, where still vehicles are not there. Still tanga horse cart is very common. So there this horse cart driver used to keep monkey, and he was very feeling uncomfortable. So Ruskin Bond saw him and gave 5 rupees to that horse cart driver, and he said that he will add to his zoo, private zoo. Second para. Toto was a pretty monkey. His bright eyes sparkled with mischief beneath deep set eyebrows, and his teeth, which were a pearly white, were very often displayed in a smile that frightened the life of elderly Anglo-Indian ladies. But his hands looked dried up as though they had been pickled in the sun for many years. Yet his fingers were crisp and wicked, and his tail, while adding to his good looks, grandfather believed a tail would add anybody's good look, also served a third hand. He could use it to hand from a branch, and it was capable of scooping up and delicacy that might be out of the reach of his hand. So he was a pretty poet. Author describes here his physical features, like his sparkling teeth and his we can say naughty eyes, teeth, and they were pearly white, and his particular tail, which was very beautiful, and author calls it third hand. Okay, so he was capable to hang from a branch, capable of scooping delicacy. You have seen so many monkeys, they tie their tail to a branch of a tree, and they take like a pendulum, they swing like a pendulum. Almighty Allah has given them such arrangement. Next para. Grandmother always fussed when grandfather brought home some new bird or animal. So it was decided that Toto's presence should be kept a secret from her until she was in a particularly good mood. Grandfather and I put him away in a little closet opening into my bedroom wall, where he was tied securely, or so we thought, to a peg fastened into the wall. So as usual, the ladies of the house, they were fussing over whenever grandfather brought some new pet bird or animal. So it was decided by author and his grandfather that they will not tell her until she is in a good mood, Okay, and that is why they have kept in a little closet opening the bedroom wall, okay, where he has tied the securely. Next para. A few hours later, when grandfather and I came back to the release Toto, we find that the walls, which had been covered with some ornamental papers chosen by grandfather, now stood out as naked brick and plaster. The big peg in the wall has been wrenched from its socket, and my school blazer, which had been hanging there, was in shreds. I wondered what grandmother would say, but grandfather didn't worry. He seemed pleased with Toto's performance. He's a clever, said grandfather. Given time, I am sure he could have tied the torn pieces of your blazer into a rope and make his escape from the window. Then what happened? Uh, where they have kept as a secret, but in a no time, he scratched the wall or took the wallpaper, and not only this, but he also the plaster was and brick was clearly seen from that wall. The peg in the wall had been wrenched from its socket. Peg has been socket, and the school blazer of a author had been hanging. It was cut into the slices, we can say that, like a bread. And but grandfather says, don't worry, he's a very he was pleased, and he said that the time will come that he will make from the pieces the rope and made his escape from the window. On page next page 8, second para. His presence in the house is still a secret. Toto was now transferred to a big cage in servants' quarter, where a number of grandfather's pets lived very sociably together. A tortoise, a pair of rabbit, tame squirrel, and for a while my pet goat, and the monkey wouldn't allow any of his company to sleep at night. So grandfather, who had to leave Dehradun next day to collect his pension in Saharanpur, decided to take him along. So as grandfather was very lovable, passionate lover of the birds, of the pets, so he had a private zoo, tortoise and squirrel, who were the we can say pets. So these were the pets: tortoise, monkey, and goat authors. But monkey was very clever. He would never allow anyone to in his particular cage to sleep. So grandfather used to go to Saharanpur, Dehradun, to collect his pension in Saharanpur. So he decided to take Toto, monkey, pet dog along with him. On next paragraph. Unfortunately, I could not accompany grandfather on that trip, but he told me about it afterwards. A big black canvas kit bag was provided for Toto. This, with some straw at the bottom, became his new abode. When the bag was closed, there was no escape. Toto could not get his hands through the opening, and his canvas was too strong for him to bite his way through. His efforts to get out only had the effect of making the bag roll about on the floor or occasionally jump into the air, an exhibition that attracted a curious crowd of onlookers on the Dehradun railway platform. So, unfortunately, author could not accompany his grandfather, but he made a one bag, canvas kit bag, where Toto was there, and our grandfather told each and everything of what has happened there. So it became very fun when he went to Dehradun. So we will see what has happened. Next paragraph. Toto remained in the bag as far as Saharanpur, but while grandfather was producing his ticket at the railway turn site, Toto suddenly poked his head out of the bag and gave the ticket collector a wide grin. The poor man was taken aback, but with the great presence of mind and much of grandfather's annoyance, he said, "Sir, you have a dog with you. You will have to pay it for it accordingly." So what happened? Up to Saharanpur, nothing was there. But as soon as the ticket collector come at the railway station, he looked aside from the bag. All of a sudden, he poked his head out of the bag, and the ticket collector was shocked, and he said, "You brought your pet with you, sir. You will have to pay accordingly. Extra charges you will have to give." Next paragraph. In vain old grandfather take Toto out of the bag. In vain did he try to prove that a monkey did not qualify as a dog or even as a quadruped. Toto was classified a dog by ticket collector, and there 3 rupees was the sum handed over his fare. As you know that he has been taken the extra charge for 3 sum of 3 rupees. Okay, so they have to give as for the his charges. Next paragraph. Then grandfather, just to get his own bag, took from his pocket our pet tortoise and said, "What must I pay for this? Since you charge for all animal." The ticket collector looked closely at the tortoise, prodded means push it with his forefinger, gave grandfather a pleased triumphant look, said, "No charge, it's not a dog." Then when he showed tortoise to him, he touched and he said, "Oh, I will not find any charges because he is not a dog." Next paragraph, next page, on page 9, first para. When Toto was finally accepted by grandmother, he was given a comfortable home in the stable where he had for a companion the family donkey Nana. On the Toto's first night in the stable, grandfather paid him visit to see if he was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana without apparent cause pulling at her halter and trying to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. When in the first time in the stable, grandfather put the monkey and he said what he has to do. Nana, that is his another pet donkey, so he was pulling at an halter and around his head horse and to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. Grandfather gave Nana a slap across her haunches and she jerked back, dragging Toto with her. He had fastened on her long ears with a sharp little teeth. As grandfather, as a punishment, slapped that Nana, and which he was taken back. Toto and Nana never become friends. Remember, Toto and Nana, that is donkey. Nana is a donkey, pet of our grandfather. Next paragraph. A great treat for Toto during the cold winter evening was the large bowl of warm water given by grandmother for his bath. He would cunningly test the temperature with his hand, then gradually step into the bath, first on foot, then other as he has seen me doing, until he was into the water up to his neck. Once comfortable, he would take the soap in his hand, feet, and rub himself all over. When the water became cold, he would get out and run as quickly as he could to the kitchen fire in order to dry himself. If anyone laughed at him during his performance, Toto's feelings would be hurt and he would be refused to go on with his bath. One day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. As you know, grandmother has accepted him as a dog, so he was given the place in the stable, and where in the evening large ball was given to him, and that he used to take the bath. But as it was boiling water, so he used to taste with the hands. When he feel comfortable, first he would put in his feet, then half, then hands, then he would take the soap, then rub. He used to copy author, and whenever water becomes cold, he used to run fast to the kitchen fire like a human being, and whenever anyone laughs at him, he would not bath in the next day. So according to author, one day he didn't see, he might have not seen, but he has just become a live boiling. Thank God he was saved, but he nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. Means the water was too hot, in a too hot temperature. He took a dive to take the bath, but he was saved. Next paragraph. Large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil the tea, and Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. Finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got it with his head sticking out from the open kettle. This was just done for a while. Until the water began to boil, Toto was raised himself a little, but finding it cold outside, sat down again. He continued hopping up and down for some time until grandmother arrived and hauled him half boiled out of the kettle. As you know, the kettle is a kitchen where the tea is made, so he put his head and finding himself better to do. He was in the lead only, and water was coming. Boiling water, so but his head was sticking out from the open kettle. This was raised for a little, but it was cold again. He was going inside, but what happened when grandmother arrived? He hauled half boiled out of the kettle. If there if there is a part of the brain especially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. He was always tearing things to pieces. Whenever one of my aunts came near him, he made a very effort to get hold of her dress and tear a hole in it. It was a special habit of this Toto monkey. Whenever he was in a naughty mood, he wants to want everything into things into pieces. And whenever Arthur's aunt came near him, he made every effort to make a hole in her dress and tear a hole in it. Next paragraph. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of plow stood in the center of the dining table. We entered the room to find some Toto suffering himself, stuffing himself with rice. My grandmother screamed, and Toto threw a plate at her. One of my aunt rushed forward and received a glass of water in the face. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of plow and made his exit through the window. We found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree, the dish still in his arm. He remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain, and then, in order to spite grandfather, who screamed at him, threw the dish down from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into the 100 pieces. As you know, a monkey is a monkey, animal is an animal. A large dish of plow was prepared for the human being, for this auntie, grandfather, these people. But when they entered the room, they find that the Toto stuffing with a rice, and he was enjoying that dish. And when the grandmother screamed, he threw a plate at her. And when aunt rushed, he threw the glass of water, that Toto. And not only this, to grandfather, he picked up the dish of plow and made his exit through a window. He didn't throw anything at the grandfather, but took a plow's plate and went outside from the window and went to the branch of jackfruit tree, and sitting there very quietly eat each and every morsel till afternoon slowly. And after finishing every grain, then his grandmother, who had screamed, threw the dishes down to the tree and chattered with the delight when it broke into the 100 pieces. Also made that plate was broken into 100 pieces. Last paragraph. Obviously, Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Even grandfather realized that we were not well to do and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtains, and wallpaper. So grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. Then, as you know, he is not a pet to be continued in the house and not to suffer frequent loss of dish, clothes, curtains, wallpaper, and snatching the rice, snatching all these things. So it was not tolerable. So directly grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold back him to him only 3 rupees. 2 rupees in we can say loss, because he took it into 5 rupees, but he sold it back. And we learned so many things from here. Animal is after all animal. So I can tell you number of stories where cat, dog, those who have kept as that cat and dog themselves have killed, have attacked their own masters. Nobody knows the reasons. Sometimes 2-3 days their dead body decompose, and it was found later on by the relatives. And you will be surprised to know in Arab people keep tiger, lion as a pet. Okay, horse is we can understand. Some people keep even the tortoise, or we can say that so much different animals typical. Some people, some mad people I will call, they have kept snake as a pet, but they got the result like Toto. So dear students, listen to this, complete the question answer, and remember words and their meaning, and send it on my personal number. Listen and complete all question and answer. Okay, so do your homework. Jazakallah.